I wonder how I would take that if something that I've loved so much ever since I was a child.
Like resent?
Yeah, to be like, what if I don't like this anymore?
We're live. Tom.
Oh gosh, okay.
No, I know. It'll be cut out. It's all good.
Okay, cool.
But Tom, welcome to the show.
Hey man, thanks for having me. Look at that. It was cool.
As a fan of the Bub Boys podcast, it's a void in my heart.
Yeah, before we started, you asked, "Are you gonna ever bring it back?" And Kevin and I always talk about, are we gonna get the Bub Boys back together? Are we gonna like really hype this thing up and brand it and like make a YouTube channel and get merch and go on Twitter and like really just troll people and like get the name known? We all talk about it, and we just never get to it. I don't know why, but I mean, when's the last time you listened to a Bub Boys podcast?
Years.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I listened to one not too long ago, and it's a roller coaster ride, man. It's a shitstorm. We did one with our good friend Tommy, and he lived in Chattanooga. He lives in Chattanooga, and it's our notable favorite episode because it's just all gas, no brakes. Just three guys with terrible ADD, ADHD, and we're just like screaming at each other. We're talking about our favorite colors, like, what's the best and worst fast food restaurant. Like, there's no rhyme or reason to it. Your podcast is like this groomed, beautiful thing, and our podcast was like the local circus.
I feel like I'm all over the place as far as like the type of guests. They are all over the place.
But that's good.
But maybe the common thread is like why do you do what you do, which is we're here to see like why do you play music, where do you, like all that stuff, right? And but yeah, I feel like it's hard to grow an audience if there's no like underlying theme, or there's no central theme.
Well, I think with what you're doing though is you're talking to like people of all walks of life and kind of like asking what makes them tick, really at the end of the day. And I think that's a really cool angle to go on. Where ours was kind of more like a comedy stitch type of thing, where it's like, I always had like a rough outline of our podcast every time, and we would loosely follow it. Like, I actually created like scripts, so like if we wanted to do certain like little bits between Kevin and I would try to draw those out for us. But Kevin would always get stoned before every podcast, and he would just do this little, he'd go and like he would just giggle the entire time. So like is the will was there, but it wasn't really well defined and groomed. Like I said, like like here we're in my band room, my recording studio right now.
What an honor.
Like
the temple.
It is. I call it the Beat Dungeon. I don't know, actually. I never really named the room. I think we were actually going to call it Pug Studios because I got dogs everywhere. You can't really see them in the camera. I don't think so. But anyways.
Shout out Mike. Mike Scroban.
Yeah, shout out Mike Scroban for that pug. No, but like, you have like the whole setup, man. Like, it's awesome. Like, you literally got the lights. You got the fancy camera equipment. We got, the microphones. Everything's dialed in. It's cool.
It's always growing.
Yeah.
The very first episode, I think Marty was actually on one of the very first episodes.
So, yeah.
It was my current cell phone and a previous cell phone, and I left the old cell phone on the table for audio. And so it's just one angle, cell phone, if you got a lot of people have the network, they're like, oh, I would be a great host because I know so many people that would love to share their stories, and it's just they are crippled by like how overwhelming all this stuff is, and it's just like you just need some vessel to record your voice and go, and it'll just evolve over time.
Exactly. Like, it starts super bare bones. I mean, when we started it, Kevin and I lived in different states. He was in New York and I was in Chicago. And it was just a way for us to kind of stay connected. And it was like kind of really right on the cusp of when him and I actually started working on my album. It was just a way for us to just, again, stay connected. He was about to get married, and like, we just wanted to kind of grow as friends again, because he had been gone for the past decade in New York, working for record labels as an engineer, sound engineer. And so him and I, we just went with the route of we both have GarageBand. And we just plugged we got our microphones, plugged them into our computer, the USB mics, you could do that. We both just, on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, we both hit record. And then we would just talk in the microphones and video each other, like, with Zoom. and we would do it that way. And then when we were done, I would just send him the audio files, and then he would just link them up together.
Right.
And then we just did it that way. But
is there anything you would change if you were to bring it back?
If I were to bring it back, I kind of mentioned this when we were talking. I would love to kind of do what you're doing, where it's more of like a visual, right?
Sure.
I mean, podcasts are cool when you're driving, but like when I started listening to podcasts, I like the ones, you know, I plugging Joe Rogan like he needs it, but you know, that visual I think is cool. To see like the facial expressions of the people talking, I feel like it kind of grabs you more. And then what we would do too is during our podcast, like we would pull things up online, but like that would be hilarious because then you could see the screen share of us talking. And like I think one episode we were talking about top 5 tapes, and by tapes I mean like Scotch tape, duct tape, and like, you know, painter's tape. We were talking about like the best brands, and then we were like Google searching them, and we're like, oh man, Scotchgard, really good stuff, but not nearly as good as Gorilla. You know, like it sounds so stupid saying that right now.
But like as all over, like all-encompassing your episodes can be, imagine how many Instagrammable clips you can pull. Yeah. And then you just saying that, I just see like you like throwing pictures of Scotch tape, duct tape all over the Instagram clip, and you just daily clips of Bub Boys. And
yeah, exactly. I mean, there was one episode I just, you know, again, it was just so all over the place that like there is so many just ridiculous one-liners from it that like it would be like a hodgepodge of dog shit, but like there'd just be like little bits of gold in it. And I think like the visuals, if I were to do it again, I would try to wrangle us in and be a little bit more disciplined. I think that's kind of what I would try to do. So,
well, we're holding our breath.
Yeah, everybody's you and about 15 other people are waiting with bated breath for the Bub Boys to come back. I mean, I will tell you though, like the people who did listen to it, they like did enjoy it. Like Bub Boys, man, the Bub Boys podcast was great.
It's hard because it's like there's no niche, right? Like you said, like so it's like people that already know who you guys are and what you're all about. And I think of like Trevor Wallace, and like they just ramble on their podcast too, right? But because they have such a following, people
they don't care.
They'll spend the time to listen.
Listen, exactly. I mean, that's the thing. You build your audience, and then you can do whatever the hell you want. That's what I've come to learn. Like, there was a comedian. He goes, "Yeah, Jason Bateman. This is like Jason Bateman." And he's like, "Oh gosh, you know, like we started a podcast. I didn't think we would really get that great of a response. You know, it's not like I'm an Emmy award-winning and Grammy award-winning, Emmy award-winning actor who's been in the industry since I was a child. I'm shocked that people would follow my podcast." It's like, well, duh, dude. Yeah, you got the base. Meanwhile, some dudes from the Midwest, you know, were chomping at the bit trying to get it, but.
Well, you do it for the love, right? At the end of the day, like
absolutely,
that's what keeps you going. And tying it back to why you're here. I mean, I have been a fan. I'm a fan of who you are as a person. I told you before we record, and any friend of Marty is probably a decent human being, right? And like I told you, like I'm a fan of your daily Instagram, like just little quips, and it gets you going. It's it just. Something to laugh at, and your humor, like your sense of humor and how you look at life. I think I'm a fan, and I think you're a good person to talk to navigate how does one balance cultivating their passion, which you've been doing since you were a kid, right? Music.
Yeah.
And how can you, if you want to, like, how do you convert that side hustle into a full-time gig? Like, and up until that point, you're balancing a full-time gig with this side hustle, right? So how does one navigate that, right?
Dude, it's hard. I mean, you know, I learned from a young age is to never go hungry. You know, that stems from my dad, and always kind of teaching me how to work, you know, and find work. So like all throughout, from pretty much honestly my first job, I always held 1 to 3 jobs. You know, when you're in high school, you have part-time jobs. So like, I think throughout high school, I worked at a pizza joint, a banquet hall, and then I worked at another restaurant. I was their first and last host. You know, the people that like seat you. Yeah. I was stoned all the time and always showed up late. So it was, you know, no surprise that they canned me. But, you know, from that point on though, like, you know, I played music since I was in 3rd grade. Started off with piano, and you know, slowly ventured on into other instruments. But like, you know, I was in band throughout school, and when I was 18, I got a hold of a guitar, and then I started kind of learning how to play guitar. So, like, drums and piano were like the core of me learning music. And then I kind of made that gap to guitar because I wanted to start writing more. I took a bunch of poetry classes throughout like high school, and really enjoy like reading about like spoken word and like the different types of styles of poetry. Intrigued me because, as you know, my sense of humor, I like kind of quick-witted. So, I kind of all started there. But I'll tell you, man, like, I don't feel as a musician I got good as a musician up until maybe 4 years ago. Oh. I remember I was sitting at my piano at my townhouse at the time, and I was day drinking. I was a little buzzed up, and one of the songs on my album is called Addicted. I played it on guitar. That's how I created the song. I started from that avenue. But then I was like, well, how would I play this on piano? And then it's like, well, Tom, you learned on piano first, so you just draw the simulation. And it was like a lightning bolt hit me, and then things all started making sense about like transposition, transposing music from one instrument to another, and like chords and like facings, and that all sounds like Latin right now. But the takeaway is from that point on, I kind of got this bug up my ass to learn new instruments. Like, I draw so much inspiration from learning multiple instruments. So like, I just picked up the banjo about a month ago, and it gets my wife white hot. Like, she loves it. She gets super sexed up from it. She absolutely does it. She fucking hates it. She always just put the banjo away. God damn it, it's enough. But shout out to Phil Erickson. Thank you, Phil, for that banjo.
Was that his banjo?
Yeah, it was. That's Phil's.
Oh,
he gave it to me. He said, Tom, you're gonna use it. I know you're gonna use it. Have it. So, but I completely derailed. You asked, how do you take a side hustle and kind of make it into something because it's your passion? As of right now, I really don't have an answer, right? Because I've been an active working musician on top of my career since I was 18 years old. So I always had the steady income as a working musician. When I was 18, I got my older brother's ID, and I'd walk into bars and I'd start booking us gigs. I would just pretty much say, like, just give us a couple $100. We'll bring in some people. And, over time, we started getting more confident in ourselves playing the songs. I remember the first gig we played. It was, I want to say it was me, Marty, and a couple other guys.
Yeah, the band was still together when I met Marty.
Yeah, absolutely. But, like, Marty and I, we started in our group together, and Ed Ray was with us for a while. And then, Matt Nelson hopped in eventually. But, like, our first show, we knew 10 songs. And we played those same 10 songs for 3 hours. But we brought an entire, I think we brought over 40 or 50 people to the bar on Thanksgiving night. And the bar was elated. They gave us $300. They let us all drink and eat pizza. And, like, everybody had a blast. That was Durbin's and Palos Hills. Oh, my God. But over time, you just kind of become more confident with it and your brand. And I think that's kind of what it boils down to, is branding yourself and being confident within yourself. So, like, right now, I'm having a hard time of juggling, like, my career, my day job, and, like, trying to, like, push and promote this album now. Like, the past 2 years, I spent down here in this room staring at my computer screen, writing and, pretty much recording all the parts to all these songs on this album. And now I'm, like, in the home stretch. Like, we're in mixing and mastering time. And it's like, shit, I went to college for marketing and advertising. This should be second nature to me. And I'm just kind of sitting here like, I need to just start going on this, because, like, I can actually make a profit on this if I actually go balls to the wall on it. So it's about just having that drive and perseverance to just get out there and put yourself out there, and also believing in yourself. Like, it's funny, as an outgoing person as I am, I have my own insecurities. I deal with panic attacks and anxiety all the time. Music has always been, like, a great coping mechanism. But I tell you, like, being in a band, we play around the Chicagoland area, have since I was 18. We do a lot of covers, because that's what people know and that's how we get paid. But, like, exposing my true self and my writing to people, that's like bearing a different part of my soul to people that I'm not used to. So, part of me is anxious about it, right? Because you think, like, what if people don't like it?
True.
I always. Oh, sorry about that.
No, you're good.
That's like one of those things. Like, what if people don't like it? What if people don't like what I'm putting out there? And Kevin, Kevin Matella is I guess you could say my partner on this album. because he's actually doing the only I don't do the drums on my album. I play guitar, I play bass, I do the piano, I play slide guitar. Then Matt from my band does like some of the tasty solo sections. But you know, he told me, he goes, Tom, you're doing this for yourself. Fuck what anybody else thinks. He's like, this is what you're proud of. Be proud of it and own it. If some people don't like it, they're not gonna like it. He's like, I'm a prog metal artist. He's like, Tom, he's like, you know how niche that market is? He's like, imagine that, trying to like sell and promote prog metal. He's like, at least your music is all encompassing, you know, at least you play like folk, rock, blues, country, you know, like, you know, funk. Like, he's like, you rock, like you're going to grab somebody along the way. So
do you ever feel like a generalist if you're covering that many genres? Or because in a way in your bio, you kind of like say you're it's a combination of those. So you're not like fully folk, you're not fully rock, but you have a combination of everything. Yeah,
I mean, that's a good way to put it because, man, I tell you, people ask me like, well, what's your style? Like, I don't know really how to describe it. I just say it's rock and leave it at that. But like some songs are like very jazz orientated, right? And I am not a jazz musician in the least bit. In fact, in school, I was a dog shit jazz drummer. I'm too heavy-handed. John Bonham was the reason why I started playing drums, and he's from Led Zeppelin, in case people don't know that. If you don't know who Led Zeppelin is, come on now. But you know, he was the reason why I started playing. I picked up the sticks in 7th grade because this girl came to our school, and she was like a virtuoso at piano, so I got kicked off the piano. And the girl, she's phenomenal. You know, no bad blood there, but my teacher was like, pick up the sticks. So I'm like, okay. And then the drums became like my thing. But I was a very heavy-handed drummer, as you probably saw in the videos you were taking of me earlier. I'm loud.
Drums in general are loud.
Are loud, yeah. But, I guess, you know, a generalist, I've never heard that term before, but I guess that's a good way to do it because, like, I dip my toes in every little pool, you know?
Well, at the end of the day, it is for you.
Yeah.
You know, if you like folk, do folk.
Yeah.
You know, if you like rock, do rock. Whatever it is.
Absolutely, man. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you see my record collection. I don't think it's on camera.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I got over like 2,000 records, and you know, I got hip hop, I got blues, I got, you know, old like Motown, I got, you know, jazz records, big band records. I have obviously an onslaught of classic rock. I got new music, I got old music, you name it. But you know, as a musician, I'm constantly trying to hear different sounds to help inspire. Because that's what's kind of important, you know?
Yeah, you say music is the universal language.
Yeah.
Does that tie, like, everyone around the world together in a way?
Absolutely. So it's funny you say that. I was talking with a good friend of mine, Fernando. I think it was like Tuesday. We were talking, and I was telling him a story about, I firmly believe that, you know, music is the universal language. And a good story is my parents, the house behind them, when I was in high school, was like right after high school. I think it was in my 20s. This younger couple moved in, and they were a young French couple from France. And the guy was like, you know, really a successful business guy, and he was over here for a period of time on a contract. And anyways, they have very broken English. But, you know, if you knew my dad, he could talk to the wall and get it to speak. So, you know, they became friends and everything, but they had friends in from France, you know, like visiting and everything. And somehow my dad kind of came up on the topic of me being a musician, and they brought up the Beatles. So, like, you know, my dad comes up to me, he's like, hey, you know, neighbors behind you, they love the Beatles. You know a bunch of Beatles songs. Why don't you go over there and play? I'm like, don't they, you know, I'm like, but they don't really speak English. How am I going to communicate with him? He's like, you got that. He's like, that right there makes it work. So, I don't know if you can see that guitar there.
Oh yeah.
This,
yeah. They got it.
You got this, Tom. That will do the talking. So, sure enough, I went there, and you know, the couple that lived behind him at the time, they had just moved in, so, you know, very broken English, and then their friends that were there didn't speak any. So it's like, I'm like, you know, what do you guys want to play? And I just typed in Beatles on my phone, and they're like, oh, this song. And then so they showed me a Beatles song, and I looked up the chords, and we just all started singing and playing. And for like an hour and a half, I'm sitting with these people, and we don't speak.
They were playing with you.
Yeah, we were singing together. And that was like super cool because like for that hour and a half, we all spoke the same language. And that is like beautiful to me. And you know, everybody from all walks of life can come together for that moment because of music, and that's why I think it's so important, you know. So,
How many friends have you made through just going to shows and playing at playing and all that stuff?
Dude, it's pretty wild because like Matt, Zach, and I, our acoustic trio, Matt, Zach, and Tom at Facebook, you can check us out. Our acoustic trio, like we've been together for 7 years, playing as the acoustic trio, and it's like 2 guitars, and I play the cajon, and Zach and I flip flop on guitar, and Matt just shreds on guitar. But through those years, we have like developed all these like really close relationships. The reason being is, you know, a lot of musicians will go up on stage and think that they're the greatest gift, you know, on earth to these people because they could play something. Yes, it's a privilege to play music, but don't take it for granted. But, you know, we go up there, we'll play, and if we see people enjoying it, you know, I'll mention to the guys, I'm like, I saw that couple over there or that couple. I'm like, let's go introduce ourselves, you know. So we would make it a point to kind of connect with these people. And through that, man, I could like name at least 7 or 8 couples that we have met that are older, younger, you know, live in different states now. We still talk to them that we have met through music. And we've played private events for these people. We've done weddings for people. Like, it's fascinating. All because we play at bars and, you know, venues and things like that, and we connect with them through that way.
So through that whole process, because you say, you know, you still go through and experience anxiety. So through that process of approaching even strangers, like, what has that done for you personally?
So it's interesting, like, my anxiety, I don't know why, but like talking to strangers, that's something that never like bugs me. I could go walk up to somebody I've never met before, and you know, and start a conversation.
Is it when you have to start talking about yourself, or like what causes what do you think causes the anxiety?
That's a really good question. Like, I know I was anxious right before we started. I was starting to feel pretty panicky.
Just as we
Yeah. Oh yeah,
because you were chill, like showing me around.
Yeah, absolutely. Like right before you and I literally started talking, I had a mini panic attack.
To let you know, I mean, if I were to come on someone else's show, I'd feel the same thing.
Yeah, you know, and it's again because it's like I'm like almost like exposing. I'm showing myself, right?
Sure.
So that's kind of always a little nerve wracking. But also it's like when I think something's like important, I think like I get a little anxious too. You know, one thing I found is panic attacks and anxiety attacks. They're not too complex of why you're having them. One thing I've learned is they're not this big mystery. Like, you know, the reason why I was having a panic attack before we started is I wanted to make sure I didn't sound like an idiot on the microphone. I wanted to make sure that I am talking in complete sentences and not swearing too much. I want to make sure that I am, you know, not too ADD and bouncing all over the conversation with you. And then when I play the guitar in a little bit, I want to make sure I don't fuck up. So like, you know, like all those things run through your head, but like, when you got to rationalize with yourself, and that's kind of something I all the coping mechanisms help. But like, so before we start, you know, those negative thoughts kind of pour in, and I just tell myself, number one, is that a productive thing to think about right now? Is that appropriate for you to think about this right now? And the answer is no, it's not. You know, is it something that I can control? Yes. Well, then control it. You're in control right now, so then handle it. You know. But then, you know, then there's like quick breathing exercises that you do. I think it's called like 4-7-6, where you breathe in for 4, hold for 7, and then release for 6.
Yeah.
So those are things like that help if you're ever feeling anxious.
Where'd you learn these things?
Oh, man. You know, it's funny. I've been having panic attacks off and on since I was about 18 years old. And I never really kind of understood what it was until right before I graduated college. I knew I was going to come home, I was going to propose to Nikki, I was going to get married, and I was going to, you know, move on into adulthood. And that last year of college, I was having like maybe 4 to 5 panic attacks a week, a couple times a day each. I was working at a radio station at the time. It was just like went from being a carefree stoner, you know, ran my own business type of guy in college to, oh, now you got somebody that relies on you. So it was that big like leap in life that kind of caused that. And, you know, it's just kind of like real life, right? You know, like real life kind of creeps up on you, and it's like, hey, you know, you're not a child anymore. So I think that's when those started really kind of kicking in. But again, for obvious reasons, right? I was about to graduate college. I was about to go propose to my wife. You know, barely had a pot to piss in. And, you know, it's just like I was going to make all these moves. So, yeah, of course you're going to be anxious, right? Yeah. It's kind of a common thing. But then as kind of life progresses, like, you know, each year they kind of change. Like right now I get loads of anxiety with my current job because it's a high stress level job. You know, I'm running a company right now for a couple of owners, and I oversee a staff of like 10, and trying to take care of the day-to-day and implement all these changes. It's a startup, and it's a fucking mess. So my problem is with that. I think the reason why I'm experiencing so many panic attacks with that is because I'm like bearing myself to it. It's like I'm as we mentioned, like my brand, right? This is me, and it's like if things are fucking up, then I think it's on me. I feel like I'm the fault. I'm at fault. I'm the problem. So, of course, I'm just like completely burned out from it right now. And
how often have things gone right?
More than they've gone wrong. That's a good question. I mean,
Do you celebrate those wins?
So part of unfortunately being like it's funny because I call myself a perfectionist, but I am very rarely ever perfect. I make mistakes so much, right? But like when something good happens, I try to like compliment myself. But it's funny because I'm hard on myself, but I'm great to others, right? But one thing I've learned is if you're not kind to yourself and you don't love yourself, how are you supposed to be kind to others and love others? How are you supposed to, if you're not healthy, how are you supposed to be the supporting block for somebody else? So, it's like you have to kind of build yourself up in order to, be there for other people. So, celebrating the wins is super important, and understanding the losses and trying to let them roll off is even more important, because I have a problem with letting go of things. If I make a mistake, but again, that kind of rolls into the whole OCD and perfectionism type of thing, that area. So
what's the title of your role?
I'm the executive director of this company. Yeah, but I'm a glorified fucking property manager.
That's what I thought it was. But okay.
So I'm supposed to. Not to bash them. I'm going to try my best not to. I was brought on to this company to oversee the day-to-day, focus on sales and growth, hire people, bring people on, and get the business off the ground. But instead, I have just been pretty much managing a massive portfolio of properties and really haven't been focusing on sales and growth.
Because you like real estate. I enjoy seeing all the places you share.
Yeah, that aspect's awesome. But managing multifamily units is exhausting. It's crippling, because like so at the end of the day, you're dealing with somebody's dwelling, right? So if you have a leak in your unit, right, for example, you want it fixed right away. Obviously.
Yes.
Anybody would.
Right.
But sometimes there's hoops you got to jump through with that, because if you're living in a condo, meaning that you own it and you're in a condo complex, which is an association at the end of the day, it's up to a board of directors who are appointed by your association. They're volunteers at the end of the day. It's their job to say yes or no to work. Us at the end of the day are liaisons. We're glorified liaisons. Even though our titles say manager, we literally just
listen to them.
Yeah.
Okay.
We could advise till we turn blue in the face, but if they say no, then that's it, But like, I have a massive pothole at one of my properties right now. It's been there since April, and the board still hasn't approved it for that pothole to be fixed, and people could keep getting flat tires. Keep sending them the proposals. They keep saying, no, we just want to get the whole road replaced. I'm like, well, then just throw a cold patch in. It'll take literally fucking half hour and maybe $200. It's not that expensive, but they don't want to do it. So it's like, that's aggravating, because you have to constantly, you're the no person for people. Instead of being the yes man, you are literally telling people no all the time. You are a rule enforcer.
Out of your control.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
And I think that's kind of one of the things I'm learning about myself is, it's funny, I used to be just such like a carefree and like free-spirited guy, and I become such like almost like not a control freak, but like I want to be more in control of my life and the decisions I make and everything. But I am literally in a job and in a position where I have no control.
Even though you're like at the top.
Yeah.
That's so wild.
Oh, it's mental.
Is this something that you thought you'd be doing out of college?
No. I did not think I would be in property management all out of college. I ended up getting a job at a bank because it had benefits and stuff like that. I was making, no money
like
at the
time.
time.
The first adulting type job.
Yeah. I put on my big boy tie, and, I had to shave my face all the time, and, my nose looks even bigger without any facial hair, so it's like, God damn it. But yeah, no, you know what? When I was at the bank, it was great, but I just wasn't making any money. And, my wife is in the medical field, she's a nurse, and she was the breadwinner for like 3 years.
Sure.
I make a good living on top of my actual job playing music. So I was able to kind of supplement my, poor income with music. But, like, it was getting tiresome, the fact that, like, I'm not bringing in an adequate amount of money, and my wife is having to kind of bear all that with, the big paycheck and stuff.
So you felt pressure?
Yeah. And then
what did you think you were going to do?
Yeah. So that was the thing. I did not realize that I was going to go into property management.
That was the next step.
That was.
Why did you not feel like your music was ready to go all in on that?
No, that's the thing. At that point, we were still just doing a lot of covers. I was just kind of finally getting comfortable in writing, like, fluidly. I think it was around 2012 when, like, 2008 to 2010, I was actively writing a lot. I just wrote a lot, like, poetry. And then between 2010 to 2012, I finally started getting, like, okay at guitar. And by okay means I just learned all chords. But, like, I'm a sloppy player. So, but I just used it as an avenue to try to create songs. But then, like, after 2012 is when things kind of started to click. And, like, I started becoming a better guitar player. But not really, like, proficient. But, at that point, I did not feel confident at all. And, sometimes I still don't feel confident playing.
You said 4 years ago?
Yeah, it feels like 4 years ago. Fast forward to 2018, that's like when things started. I started feeling actually comfortable. My voice started getting better because I'm singing with Zach all the time. Zach's in my band, and he's just, him and Matt, like, are great people to learn off of. Part of the reason why, I love playing with him is Matt is by far one of the most talented guitar players that I've ever met in my life. I could pick up a song like that. You could look at your chord facings and just figure it out, and then he could solo off of it. But that's what he focuses on, only guitar. Zach is by far one of the most talented vocalists I've ever heard in my life. He's got the voice of a raspy angel, as I always tell people. He's phenomenal. And, and then here comes me. I'm just, massive ADD, and I know how to play multiple instruments, so everything mediocrely. Is mediocrely a word?
You just made it a word.
I made it a word. Goddamn right. But, like, I was great at drums, but then I ended up hitting a wall with it, and I just kind of got bored of it. I got sick of lugging them everywhere, and I was like, guys, let's do the acoustic trio thing. I'll play a cajon instead. So it's a box drum, and then I could sing more, and I could work on kind of being better at guitar. And over the years, I just learned from Matt with guitar, and then Zach was singing, and learn how to harmonize better. As you kind of heard on some of the songs, you're like, who's that other person singing? I'm like, that's me harmonizing. You're like, oh. And it's funny because, like, I don't even think I'm a great singer either. There's numerous people, there are thousands of people that are out there that are better than me musically. I know that. I just enjoy playing so much. And, again, a lot of this is for me, but, like, after my dad died, I kind of told myself, like, it would be absolutely selfish of me not to share all the stuff I've written, because I've written over 100 originals, in counting. I feel like I kind of come up with a new progression weekly, and I plug it in on the computer, so I have it saved at least. And that's when after my dad passed, I got, like, really hell-bent on documenting all my music, because I would be livid if I abruptly passed and all my music just was gone from this earth. So at least want to have my kid to have that, So that's why I kind of just started diving into making it out there, pushing the music out there.
Out of all the instruments you play, do you feel like there was one that really helped things click? And I have a feeling it's the guitar, but, like, every instrument has a role, but does one kind of end up being the hero of each song, or song music in general?
Yeah, that's a really cool question, because I part of the reason why I like playing different instruments and learning different instruments is because what I may do on banjo, like, the way you play banjo is different than the way you play guitar. It's also tuned differently. So, like, I'm learning actually how to solo better and, like, actually do riffs because of that banjo. Like, I wasn't able to do things on there before. Whereas, like, so before I trail off, to answer your question, guitar was kind of the, I guess you could say, the avenue that I would, God, what do artists, painters say? Like, it's my,
like vessel, or
like, it's like whatever their medium. Like, my medium is guitar for a while, but then actually when we moved here about 4 years ago and the piano came here, I finally tuned up the piano. and I started playing it more and more. And I pretty much put the guitar down for like 6 months or so, and I just started playing piano more and more, and a lot of songs came from piano. That's because, visually your hands are right in front of you, right?
Yeah.
So you're being able to actually see, like on the guitar, I'm doing like an A chord, but here, I'm seeing the A chord here. And then like an A7th or like an A9th or an A7th diminished, and looking at all these chords and like visually seeing it now. So then when I go back to there, I'd be like, oh, that's how you do that on guitar now. So it's like they played off of each other.
Really?
Yeah, so it's that was super fascinating for me, because there's a couple songs on the album that I play piano on that are piano-driven songs that, again, like I don't think I would ever been able to write that on guitar. You know, and then like that other song that I showed you before that I like, it's not going to be on the album, but it's a song. It took me like 6 to 8 months to get the piano part down. But again, that song is literally a piano song. So if I were to play that on guitar, it would sound completely different. It wouldn't have the same dynamics. So I think like having those different vessels allows me to be creative and to write more. So, guitar, where, as you said, it's kind of, pardon me, the winning instrument, the one I usually kind of grab first. I feel like piano is like the second, or sometimes the first. I mean, every day when I come home, I usually walk in the house, take a piss, and I go straight to the piano and I just play for like 10 minutes.
Put those reps in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, same with the banjo. It's like I'm like hell-bent. It's funny, I told myself this year I would learn how to play banjo, and I'm working on it. I understand the basics of it. But I need to start, I need to convince Zach and Matt to play banjo.
Are you just pretty much self-taught?
No, so,
besides the drums and piano, or?
Sort of. So, I was in school band growing up. So, from 3rd grade, I started taking piano lessons all the way to, 6th or 7th grade. And then, I was in band all throughout school. But in band, I was a percussionist. So, I played, the marimba and the xylophone and the timpani and, played all these different instruments and stuff like that. And I would occasionally play the drums. So, we were a marching band and stuff. And, I was they call us the auxiliary, where you were literally all the, accented instruments and stuff. So I think that's where my knack for wanting to pick up different instruments comes from. Drives Nikki crazy, because I always just kind of, I don't even tell her anymore when I get new instruments. I just kind of leave them here. Like that guitar that's directly behind me. It's a 12-string. I got it a couple months ago, and she won't know about it. Hopefully she doesn't listen to this. If so, Nikki, I'm so sorry. It was really cheap, I promise. But yeah, no, so yeah, so I guess you could say I was kind of classically taught, but I didn't really. It's funny because I don't feel like I really understood reading music until.
I was gonna ask, where does one start if one wanted to get into one of these instruments? It's in general, do you think it's wise to just kind of reading a book? So when you read a book, when you're cultivating the skill to read what you like.
Mm-hmm.
So when we translate that to music, when you're trying to learn the guitar, learn the drums, would you listen to some of your favorite songs and kind of just mimic that?
Absolutely.
Or would you go back to the fundamentals and start with the fundamentals and learn sheet music and learn chords and stuff like that? And I'm sure it's different for everyone. Right?
Yeah.
But what do you think helped you the most?
There's no right way to learn how to play music,
right?
It's just like there's no right way to be a parent, as long as you just don't let it drop it on its head or let it choke on food or something like that. But with music, for me, what actually finally sparked me to want to actually be really into music was in 7th grade, picking up the sticks and learning about Led Zeppelin. I remember Marty introduced me to Pink Floyd and Grateful Dead when we were in 7th and 8th grade. At that point, I was listening to Van Halen and 80s rock, because that's what my brother Jimmy was into. But then started diving into Led Zeppelin and the Stones and the Beatles and all those classic rock gods. And I picked up the sticks and I would just kind of play along to that. But at some point you got to kind of bridge the gap, right? So you could always be an ear listening person, but it's good, I think, to learn the theory of music, because things will make more sense then when you're actually trying to write. There's a song I remember I wrote, I think it was 2015. And it's funny because I just got done reading a book, which is kind of an anomaly because I don't really read too often because I don't know how. No, I'm joking. But I just got done reading a book. It was actually a really cool book about this guy who was truly the reincarnation of Jesus, but everybody was out to kill him because they thought like he was a hoax. And I don't know if it was actually like a religious book, but it was kind of like, it was dark. Like at the end, he ends up getting killed and stuff like that. But I ended up writing this song, and it's called Beyond Beyond, and it's going to be on the album. And I remember writing the song. I just wrote the lyrics first, and I wrote the progression and everything. But they're actually they're in two different keys. Like the verse is in one key and the chorus is in the other key. And it's interesting how they actually work. So like, can I do this?
Yeah, please.
So like, the song is like, yeah, so I haven't played in a while. But can you like make the gaps here so I don't look like an idiot?
No, you're good. No. This is what it's all about, right?
So the reason why that's interesting though is it's in D, I believe. So like this, the actual progression is actually in E. So it's like the echo of my mind, the moon, the grass, the trees. It's more than you and me. Water flowing, ever so gently flowing through lives of millions that we don't see. It's more than you and me now, girl. It's more than you and me. Look up beyond what you see. Behind what lies, behind what you see. Behind what lies, look up, it's God. It's love, it's the most amazing thing. Well, it really is a thing. So, yeah, I mean, like with that though, it's kind of cool because at that point I didn't really know shit about theory. I mean, you think I would because I, again, was like taught in school. I'll turn the volume off on this. So.
Yeah, it's just like how often or how long did it take for you to feel comfortable riffing and making, like writing?
It took a while, like it's funny because like I said, I have like over 100 songs that I've written and a lot of them are kind of unfinished, but I'm getting to the point now where I can finish songs. Like, some songs when I initially wrote them were beyond my capacity.
What's so hard to finish? What do you mean?
Sometimes you'll get into like a writing block with a song I find, like words-wise.
Writing lyrics.
Yeah, writing lyrics can be
Gotcha.
tough. Or like I could come up with a cool riff, but then I just don't know where to go from there because I don't want it to sound like another song because there's only so many, keys you could play in, right? So sometimes you need, and that's why I like to play other instruments. I like to listen to so much different music because it unlocks like a sound.
It does, yeah.
So like, there's, I'm trying to think what song it was. Like the one song on my album is called Talking About Love. It's a piano forward song and it took me forever to be able to sing and play it. And I only got 2 verses in it. So it was verse, chorus. Then I wanted a guitar solo, but I still needed a 3rd verse because a lot of my songs you'll find are usually just 2 verses. And I kind of, musicians do that. That's fine. But like, I have the capacity to be able to write more. I should. So when I actually went to record it, I actually just ad-libbed the 3rd verse. And it like in the song, it says like, I've written 1,000 love songs, but I've never finished one. And that's how like I started that verse. Because again, like, when I would write like really meaningful songs, as I was kind of telling you, I'd hit like writer's blocks all the time. So like, and that was one of those songs. I just hit a block on it and it just sat for a while. So I was like, maybe just record this. I know there needs to be a verse there and then just jump at it, So I did. And I ended up creating the 3rd verse just by fucking word vomit, and then like kind of honed it in, like take after take. And that's the same thing with another song in the album called Turn You On. It's only like, I only had 2 verses on it originally. And that song, Turn You On, is actually like kind of it's like a fuck you to like cliche modern music, like, pop music and how it's so, it's just so like the same
generic.
So generic, the same 4 chords and all that stuff. And, the chorus line to the song is meant to be kind of just like
catchy.
Yeah, exactly. The chorus is like dance all night.
Yeah.
Let me show you. So it's like it's pretty funny because it's like I took this disco ball and I spin it around. I took the smoke machine, baby, and I blew it in your face. I took that black light in and I turned it on. I mixed this modern music, baby, and I mixed it all wrong. Gonna dance all night and baby feel alright, so come on. Dance all night and baby feel alright, so come on. Baby, 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 we could dance all night. Hold you close and make you feel alright, so come on. So come on and let me turn you on. So yeah, but like, the rest of the song goes on to say like, it's just like a slap in the face. And then like the third verse though, it's like I didn't have. And I pretty much was like, I took a 3-chord song and I gave it a beat, threw in like a bass line and I started to sing. Like that's like literally the third verse. I didn't know what to do. So I was like, all right, we'll just talk about how you made a cheap song, So, and that's true because like,
where did that come from?
Yeah, I don't,
right?
Because I think it was because I'm making such a cliche song right now. I might as well just go full send on my sarcasm on it, because like this, it's just the song's it's goofy, but like, you got to kind of get over those humps. And I sometimes feel like some of the songs I've written, they're not meant to be completed yet. Like, they weren't meant to be completed at that point.
Is there any part of you that's impatient?
Oh God, yeah. I'm a very impatient person. I want like instant gratification. I'm one of those people that want fucking results right now, Like I hate that. And like my skin crawls when I don't see like instant results. It's definitely a personality flaw.
But then, you double down on the ADD and it's just like, well, I guess I'll do something else around,
Yeah, to just kind of, avoid the, the stress that you're feeling because you didn't get a instant feedback. But yeah, I grow impatient with songs from time to time, but very much so at the beginning when I first started recording because it's kind of a weird gap to jump. With recording, you have to record to like a click track, and what a click track is it's a metronome. And it's important to record to a click track because if you're not in the same room with other musicians, you go to send it to them. If you're off time, then they're going to be off time, and the drums are going to be off time, and then
it won't line up, right?
Yeah, it just sounds like shit then. And I learned the mistake from that when we first started, because that song "Turn You On," it was like the second song, it was the first song I recorded for the album, and we were about to mix it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
I mean it was actually about a month ago. It was beginning of May, and Kevin's like, "Tom, this is a mess." He's like, "It's been," it was like, "You recorded this in 2019, I think it was. It was like September 2019. So like, I even recorded the drums on it, and it was sloppy." He goes, "You need to redo it." He's like, "You'll be done with it fast." I recorded the entire song in like maybe 4 hours. So like the song "Turn You On" my album, I was able to record the bass, the lap steel, vocals with the harmonies, and the rhythm guitar and the piano all to it in like 4 hours. I sat down and I'm like, fuck, I got to get this done because we got to kick this album out in like a month. So I did it, and he kicked it out, and everything was in time. But like, it's important because, Kevin, wants to go throw drums on it. If I'm not in time, then how is he going to hit those, dynamic hits, those breaks and things? So it all kind of like has to line in. So when I first started playing, though, that was the hardest thing, is actually playing on time. And it's, something maybe somebody who would be listening wouldn't quite notice, or I don't want to say a layman because it's not like, we're these, specimens, but like, someone may not like notice that unless they have like a fine-tuned ear. But like for me, it's like that, like those little things that need to be done correctly. So,
which begs the question. It's like, when's the last time you impressed yourself?
Musically?
in general?
In general? Fuck, I don't know, man. I'm hard to please.
For yourself, right? Your harshest critic?
Yeah, oh yeah, I always have been. And, I think that's part of the reason too why I get panic attacks is because I'm really hard on myself, and I say countlessly, I say time and time again, I'm not in competition with you. I'm not in competition with anybody. I'm in competition with myself to try to outdo myself from yesterday. I want to be a better version of myself every single day, and if I'm not, I beat myself down about it. I get it, not every day is a good day, and we're gonna have down days, but I expect a lot from myself. And that's kind of hard to do though, because it's like that wears me out, expecting a lot from myself. But when have I impressed myself lately? Musically, I would say, just being able to finally wrap this up is really exciting. And I think the response so far with my songs has been good. So that's kind of relieving in a way for me. So I think I'll be really happy once it's all out there. Impress-wise, I think like that, but musically-wise, I don't know. I'm constantly learning and growing, so I don't even know when. When have I been impressed with myself? I don't know, Victor. With work, it's funny. I'm obviously frustrated with it, but like last week, I returned to work, and I closed three new properties that we're going to manage.
Wow.
And when I came on, they were about to lose 3, and that would not be good for a new business to be losing properties. Well, I brought on 3, so our books are balanced again, thank God. And for a small startup, that's detrimental. So, that was really important to me to show like, hey, yeah, I know I can do that. Like sales has always been one of those things, and the gift of gab and connecting with people on a human level has always been something I've been good at. So that made me feel really good. Also, placing people in jobs is something I've also been kind of really happy with. Like since I've been at my job, I've placed over 10 people in 4 months at different jobs within different companies with where I'm at. And that makes me feel good. I think as I want to leave the industry I'm in, I've found that I want to do something that is more towards helping people and kind of getting that feeling of satisfaction from making others happy, because I'm a giver, unfortunately, and that's why I kind of beat myself down so much, is because I want to give and want to help so much. But it's like, well, why not like get a job in recruiting or, do something with, job placements or, whatever it may be, and like try to help people out that way, So
what could be the next move if you were to leave property management?
Man, I tell you, I've applied to over 100 jobs in a week and a half. Just thinking about what the next move is, and as I'm applying to like literally everything, because I want to try to find something remote, right? I'm trying to find what everybody's trying to find, which is a work/life balance. One thing I learned from my dad passing is that guy was a workaholic. Provided to our family to a T, was amazing. He was always home for dinner, but he worked a lot, and I commend him for that, because he gave us everything we wanted or needed. He was a great provider and a loving man. But one thing I don't want is I don't want to be gone all the time. I want to be present for my kids. I want to be like there all the time, and I want to be able to, if I'm working from home per se, or if I'm in the office and I have to leave in case my kid's sick, I want to be able to leave and not have to worry about it. Like right now, if I leave the office, it's like, what are you doing? It's like, fuck off. But anyways, it's just like you need to kind of have that blend. And for me, I think at a mental capacity, it's like, I don't want my work to be what defines me as a person. So many people define themselves by what they do for a living.
Yeah.
When my dad died, people didn't say, oh, Jim was an amazing insurance broker. He was an amazing insurance agent. No, they said that Jim Purrazzo was an amazing man and would give his shirt off his back for anybody that needed it. I'm not, I don't want to die and people say, oh man, Tom was a great property manager. He was very fair to people. I don't give a shit about that. As long as I can make an income to keep a roof over my family's head and keep food on the table, that's what I care about.
I wrestle with that. I wrestle with not letting work take over as your identity, because it shouldn't. You have other parts of your life that are meaningful as well, but we do spend a considerable amount of time working. So how do we find meaning through that?
Well, so here's the thing. Like, think of it this way. You and Marty finally made that leap to do something that you guys are passionate about, but also make an income off of, right? So it's like your niche, right? So you found something.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, I felt burnt out my third year in.
Yeah.
Because I'm teaching the same thing over and over again. And I'm not even on an ambulance anymore.
Yeah.
Right? So I feel that imposter syndrome of like teaching something I'm not an active participant in. So it took a few friends to like remind me that like, well, this is something that you at least moderately enjoy. This is definitely something that you're good at. And think about all the different people, even though you feel like you're teaching the same thing over and over again, but all the different people you come across every year.
Mm-hmm.
And in any industry you're in, you should be cultivating. It's a relationship game, right?
Yeah.
Whether that's hospitality, property management, or teaching. And, you know, to be like recently, I shot a wedding for a couple that I met through the class. I've been invited to weddings to people that have met through the class.
Yeah.
Right? It's just like, it's crazy. It's like, it's not just EMT stuff anymore. It's just like I'm meeting just people.
Yeah.
And you're in an interesting spot because you have the ability to help people, but people, like, it's just, there are external forces that might hinder you from doing that.
Yeah. It's aggravating, you know. It's funny because about a year and a half ago, right before my dad passed, I wanted to get out of property management and I was planning on leaving. And our last conversation we had was about what would I do next? And we had been having that conversation January and February when he passed in February. We never got to finish that conversation. And it was the most aggravating thing because, like, I knew I wanted to get out of property management, so I jumped to a construction company to do sales because I knew, you know, it'd be more flexible and, you know, I was great at it. But then I got cherry-picked to jump into this job. So I left that job after like 8 months to go do this. But it's funny because like in my contract, I said, you know, I don't want to manage properties. I want to manage people. I want to help with growth. I want to do like the big picture stuff. They said, yeah, sure, no problem. Sure enough, I'm managing 30 fucking properties right now. You know, like, I'm totally fine with being flexible, but I'm getting, like, absolutely railed with no lube. And, like, it's a little frustrating. But you know what? I mean, the one thing I know about myself is I will always be able to find work and I will never go hungry. You know, those are all those kind of things that my dad taught me. It's just, you know, the frustrating thing of I don't want to be a job hopper, you know?
So at this point, when you're about to, and is this going to be your first solo album?
Yes.
So at this point, when you're about to release your first solo album, like, is there any part of you that wants to make the full leap into music full time? And that being said, it's like, will you ever make the leap full time if you always have this stable job?
You know, that's a really good question because it's like I obviously have the stability of a full-time job. Would I ever, you know, make the leap into
Are you hungry enough to pursue the marketing, to put out the social media, to keep pursuing gigs, like to pursue music full time? You
know, one thing I learned about some of the friends that I know that are in the industry and are actively like professional musicians. I mean, I would consider myself a professional musician, but like people that are like famous, well known, you pretty much have to give up everything. You have to literally be on the road 24/7. You have to, you know, or you're constantly, you know, marketing yourself. You're out there. Now, you know, I'm at a different point in my life where I have a kid, you know, and a wife and a home and bills to pay and all that. So I don't know how I'd be able to split time with that. It's funny because Zach and I always talk about it. I'm like, you know, I don't even know if I would want to be like super famous. Maybe like just mildly known would be cool. I don't even, to be honest with you though, I would rather be rich than famous because it's like, you know, whatever. I don't want to be walking around and people constantly hounding me about, you know, who I am and, oh, you know, you're so great, or I didn't like the way you sounded on that. You're dog shit. You know, it's like, you know, leave me alone. Would I make the full leap? I don't know. You know, like I would love to. I mean, music's always been my passion and it's obviously my drive, but like in the same light, I don't think I could give up what I have here. That's just not a sacrifice I'm willing to take. So it would have to, again, be a work-life balance situation, right? How do you blend the two together and make it cohesive? So at least like right now, you know, I'm like play gigs on the weekends. I work during the week. And that's even hard being away from, you know, Nikki and Santino, you know, because like, you know, on the weekends.
You want to spend time with them.
Yeah. You know, so that's the hard part. So it's, you know, it's that internal struggle. Yeah. So I don't know, man. I mean, like, I enjoy the passive income that I make off of it because it helps me buy all the toys I need and, you know, like, and, you know, takes care of us for extra trips so then we could just truly save from our careers and put that into the nest egg and stuff like that. But, you know, like, with this album, I mean, I'm hoping to make somewhat of a profit on it because I mainly just want to pay Kevin for all of his time on mixing and mastering and playing the drums on it and him just constantly taking text messages from me about ideas. And the dude literally sat through, every bit of this, process with me and like, talking over things. And then Matt, who's in my band, he was doing some of the guitar solo parts on the song. I want to be able to give him some money because, he spent a lot of time doing that. And then, of course, Zach, who I would always bug about making sure I sounded in tune when I sang, So, like, although it's a solo album, it's, it's not because, like, I had all my best friends there helping me, So, like, I feel like I should say that it's actually just an original album.
Kind of feels like you're living the dream. Just being able to spend that much time doing what you love with the people you love.
Yeah, and it's funny because, music obviously it brings so much joy to my life. And obviously work brings me down because it's a pain in the fucking ass. But, money is unfortunately something that we need in order to sustain life. To a certain extent,
I wonder what other industry, because you have these skills that are easily, you just said you applied to over 100 jobs, like skills that are transferable, that are universal. And
absolutely.
What other industry would you ideally be more happy in?
I don't know, man. And that's the thing. It's like, what do I want to be when I grow up? I always ask myself that question. I still don't know the answer to it. I think the answer is to be happy, as John Lennon once said. I just want to be happy. And you know what? For the most part, I am, and I'm extremely blessed and lucky to have the village that I have of people around me that are loving and caring, because not everybody has that. I come from a great family. I have a great group of friends. I have, great network of people around me to help if I need, and not everybody has that in this world. And I need to be understanding of that instead of being such a bitchy, moany person, So, like, you're right. I am living the dream. And I got to be more cognizant of that and be more thankful for what I have. Sometimes I, find myself in loops of complaining, and I got to stop that because, negative thoughts breed negative decisions and outlooks and stuff. And, I got to really kind of dial that back in.
Sure. What are you most proud of on this original album?
That's a good question. The one song I really like on it, what's my favorite? I really like the way Rock Bottom came out. The song I wrote, back when Nikki and I were at the townhouse. It was, at that time I was drinking like 4 or 5 days a week. We were playing shows everywhere. And I was just blacking out constantly, really, really boozing hard. And I wrote the song about my struggles with alcoholism and everything. And, off and on for years, I always, when I drink, I don't just have one, I have 13. So, it's funny because, like, I think back in February, I pretty much stopped drinking altogether, and now I'll maybe have 1 or 2 drinks here or there, very rarely, a glass of bourbon and everything like that. So it's good to know that I didn't truly have a problem, but I had to cut myself off completely in order to hit the reset. Anyways, the song Rock Bottom is pretty much just about, like, the battle of, your inner demons with who you are and who you need to be, and that's a really good song. But another song on the album is called Breakthrough, and it's about dealing with panic attacks and anxiety. And that one, I wrote a while back. But, obviously, I'm sure on your podcast you talk about mental health a lot with your guests and stuff, and I think it's super important. And it blows my mind that, in the U.S. that, like, therapy isn't given freely to people, that you have to pay an arm and a leg for.
Well, it's one thing to even start talking about it with even your own culture or family, and then after you realize that you might want help and you start seeking it, how hard or how minimal the access is to some of the stuff, and insurance comes into play, and sometimes there's long, like, wait lines and shit to get into. So it's it's an endemic in and of itself, right?
Yeah, dude, it's sad because it's like, if someone needs help, they should get it, and if they're actually trying to seek it, like, it should be given to them, because that could save a life, and I think that's super important. So, like, the song Breakthrough on my albums, it's real nice. It's about all that. I'll play it for you.
Yeah, sure.
Actually, I don't have my capo.
Do you want me to grab it for you? Or
Oh, you know what? It's in the guitar case, unfortunately. We got the light aimed at it. Let's see. Yeah, it's in that little center thing. Lift it up, you'll see something black. I think it's capo 4. I've been thinking about life for a while. All the things you did to make you smile. I've been thinking about you and me. All the things we said and would never be. You think I'm having a breakdown. Yeah, I think I'm having a breakthrough, yeah. But nobody knows but me. And I think it's plain to see now, girl, I'm not having a breakdown. But it looks like I'm having, and it feels like I'm having now, a breakthrough. Oh, another breakthrough. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Lately it feels like it's getting harder and harder to breathe. And at the end of the day, oh, I feel like I can barely see. You ever feel like, oh, you're about to lose control? And at the end of it all, oh, I'm about to explode. Here we go. But nobody knows but me now, girl. And I think it's plain to see I'm not having a breakdown. But it looks like I'm having, and it feels like I'm having now, a breakthrough.
Amazing.
Yeah. So that's just part of it. But yeah, no, so that one, you know, with that song though, it was cool to be able to kind of put voice to it and stuff, because, you know, that's, again, it's hard to kind of expose myself, right? And
Yeah, you
write
were saying you usually write about other people.
Yeah, you know, so like that was one that's really about me, right? So it's hard for me to write about myself, I found. But like, you know,
Has it been therapy for you?
what? Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right?
Dude, music super much. Yeah, absolutely.
So the more writing about yourself, like, has that like channeled, like, has that brought any solutions or just like other ways of thinking about what you have been going through?
You know, it's funny. I haven't really written much about myself to know. Like, I mean, right after my dad died, I wrote a song for him, and it was super cathartic.
Was that the piano, right?
Yeah, that one on the
I
piano.
showed Justine that. She loved that.
Yeah, dude, that one,
Oh my
I haven't
goodness.
listened to it since I wrote it because I just choke up every time I think about it. But, yeah, you know, like, it is cathartic in a way, I think, you know, kind of just writing for yourself is super helpful. Like, I wrote one of the songs on the album is called Sham Job. It's just about, like, you know, your aggravations with work, and I think everybody could kind of, like, understand that from a you know, a pretty solid standpoint. You know, that one's obviously from me and my frustrations with my previous job I had in property management. And it's funny because it's kind of ringing true again. But, you know, then there's another song on the album called Past That Gaze. And that was actually the first single I released out on, like, the streaming services. And I wrote it from, so I was at a job where my two bosses were having an affair. And it was an older man and a younger woman. I mean, she wasn't underage or anything, but, like, you know, they were, you know, older, but he was, like, old, and she was, like, you know, middle-aged. So it was a little bizarre. Anyways, they finally, like, parted ways, and it ended really bad, you know, for the company, too. So I wrote the song, Sweet Goody Two Shoes. It's called Past That Gaze now, but I wrote that song about her from his perspective. And here, really quick, I'll show you. So it's hilarious because, like, you know, without, like, kind of, you know, it's always hard to kind of, you know, try to describe it without saying their names. But anyway, so yeah, it's like. Sweet goody two shoes ain't so sweet after all. You seem like you're a nun. You're the devil after all. act so sweet and innocent. But girl, you'll fall from a heaven sent, lying and deceiving in your own ways. But goddamn girl, I can't get past that gaze. Sweet goody two shoes, past that gaze. Oh, sweet goody two shoes, yeah. You're hot like a fireball. Girl, you make my heart melt. I can't help but stumble and fall. Sour like a patch kid. You're the worst thing that I ever did. You act so sweet and innocent. But girl, you'll fall from a heaven sent, lying and deceiving in your own ways. Goddamn girl, I can't get past that gaze. Sweet goody two shoes, past that gaze, yeah. Sweet goody two shoes, yeah. So yeah, that's the part. But like, you know, she had red hair, so you're hot like a fireball. She had red hair, so like I used the hot like a fireball. But the part where he says you're the worst thing that I ever did is because they would just like sneak off and like bang all the time at like events and stuff. So it's like it's one of those songs that was like, yeah, that's got to be on there, you know?
Oh my god.
Yeah. Oh man, I don't know. Like I love writing music though. It's always been like a good creative outlet for me, and I think throughout the pandemic, like actually recording saved my sanity a lot. I mean, I would sit down here in my room. I mean, you know, I was building the basement out.
Yeah.
Well, when the pandemic started, I think it was like April.
Oh my.
After the pandemic started, and Zach and I started in on it down here. The whole basement was completely unfinished, you know, and him and I framed everything out. It took about a year to do everything, but we framed everything out, got everything completed. You know, this room is, like, as I told you, it's double walled. So like, you know, it's, you know, you got two frames running opposite ways, and acoustic paneling inside. So like, you got, you know, insulation. It's just deadened sound that heads that way out to the rest of the house. The ceiling's double insulated. This is a giant air duct that's like kind of right above us, and I wrapped that completely so you don't hear any air movement in the room. So it's, you know, perfect. So, you know, we busted ass to kind of get everything done, but once that was done, you know, I was able to kind of finish the album. But most of the album was recorded in this basement, unfinished, really damp, and just had my shit everywhere, and it was, you know, it's pretty funny. So, I don't know, man.
Where did you, just side tangent, like, this is a big undertaking,
Yeah.
right? Like, where did you learn construction?
Oh, dude, yeah. So, I mean, you know, I've always been a handy person, oddly enough. So that's the thing. Like, if I wanted to just start painting houses or some shit, I probably could make a money. That's the thing. Like, if I really wanted to, like, just do something on my own, I know I could just simply do it. It's just, you know, the undertaking of, you know, what am I going to do? I guess. I don't know. Like, I build up furniture on the side for people sometimes. I build shelving for people. I've made, like, tables upstairs.
The lamp, too.
Oh, yeah.
The chandelier.
The chandelier. I made that chandelier.
I remember.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the coffee tables in our TV room I made, you know, like, and, you know, again, like, I like building stuff. So, like, you know, the sound panel over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could have had, like, a separate IG just for furniture.
Yeah.
Tons of people do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you know, and that's the thing. It's like those are other creative outlets for me. And this the majesty of having ADD. I get bored easily, so I want to do stuff. So, like, I love woodworking. Like, I've always been intrigued by it.
There's something about working with your hands, and music or building things. Something about making something from nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And you're in full control when you're doing that.
Yep.
I think it's time to go all in on something like that.
I think you're right, dude. I mean, like, I think I like having control. Yeah, man, I don't know. It's like, you know, all this stuff. I mean, this was a massive undertaking doing this basement, and I had like wicked anxiety halfway through it because like the drywalling was the most drawn out portion, and it took like a month and a half to do. And but like it was just, our house was in constant disarray. Like, you know, it was just dirty upstairs. I had to like mop the floors every single day and vacuum because we were doing all that. And but like when it finally when it was finally finished, it's great, you know, like we have an entire second floor to our home now, you know, so when I go to sell, like, I think we're going to be able to make a great income off of this. So, Sorry. Yeah, so, I don't know, man. Like, I have all these great creative outlets, and I feel like the answer is right in front of me. And I just can't figure out what it is. But it's, like, right under my nose, And it's like, what I can do, so.
Yeah, because we've already established it's not music. we don't want that work-life balance in your life.
Like, with music, I'm also fearful, like, if I were to go all in on music and it became really burdensome.
Like a job.
Yeah, I wonder how I would take that if something that I've loved so much ever since I was a child.
Like resent?
Yeah, to be like, what if I don't like this anymore? Because there was a period of time when Matt, Zach, and Tom, our band, right before the pandemic hit, it was when we halted. But we were playing roughly just shy of 200 shows a year for like 3 years leading up to it. And we were working a lot, man. Like, I was gone all the time playing, and, we were just drinking, having a great time. People, which, by the way, if you're at a bar and you ask the band if they would like a drink, just tip them instead. Money goes a lot further than a shot of bourbon. Believe me. But like, for real, like, it was almost like a blessing for us to take a step back and halt playing, because it got to the point where, like, March, when the pandemic hit, March is always a historically busy month for us because none of us are Irish, but we learn about 20 Irish songs because we're on the south side of Chicago. So we make a killing that month, but we play like, I think 12 shows that month or so. And but by the end of it, I was just fried, and I just didn't have that desire to play anymore. And when we would get there, like, fuck, we got to go here again. Like, we got to do this again. It's like, I don't want to have that feeling. I want us to be able to go step onto that stage and have that excitement. That like excitement of like, oh wow, we're gonna do this. Like, in a couple of weeks we're gonna be playing full band, at this at the Tinley Park block party, and that's really I'm pumped for that because like we get to play the full band again, and we get to like express that way. And it's been a while since I have stepped on the kit. I didn't really have a desire to step back on the drum set at all, but back in May we played a wedding. And I had to pick up the sticks for the first time in 3 years, dude. I was mortified. I was like, holy shit, like, I can't remember. I don't remember how to play.
Did it come back, though?
Oh, thank God. But it took me a couple of weeks. I was just like, I don't want to do this. This is bullshit, And then, like, when it came time for the wedding, I had a blast. All those, it was a great time, and I looked at everybody, I'm like, I'm so happy I don't suck. They're like, we knew you weren't going to suck, Tom. I'm like, yeah, but you don't understand, like, I've been playing piano and guitar for the past 3 years, and our last wedding was like, I think it was 2019, like early 2020. I think it was like in January we played a wedding, and that was like the last time I picked up the sticks. So it's like, I was rusty, I could keep time, but I can't do the fills like I used to. Like,
right.
I'm not a flashy drummer anymore. I'm just a pocket drummer, which you could still make a living off of doing that. But yeah, man, I don't know. So that's always the thing I kind of worry about with music. It's like, if I were really to just have to go at it full tilt.
When is this original album coming out?
So I'm hoping like, maybe second or third week of July. I'm really, really hoping.
It's coming up.
It is.
What are you waiting for? What's left?
We have about half the album to just mix and master. So,
Gotcha.
Just kind of dial in the tones, tighten it up as best we can. And then after that, I just got to kick it to vinyl pressing. So, I'm doing it through GoFundMe right now, but the albums, I'm trying to get the album pressed on vinyl. As you know, I'm a big, record collector. So I love the idea of being able to hold on to something. So one of the reasons why I love vinyls is because it kind of like tells the story for you. So like, you get to see the album cover, the back, you kind of see the, cool imagery, whatever it may be. Who helped on the album is always kind of nice to see. And then sometimes you get like little fun stuff inside like vinyl records, which is awesome.
More so than CDs?
CDs, always had their little gatefold, like little sleeve. That's obviously was adapted from the records where like, you get like picture books in the vinyl.
Yeah.
Like I have a Rolling Stones album. It's called Exile on Main Street. It's actually my favorite Stones album. That album comes with a bunch of postcards. And they're like postcards with like picture stills from like the album. And it's just super cool to see. Like, that's unique. Like, nobody does that shit anymore, or like sometimes they would come with posters. Like, I have like a Stones album poster. I think it's called Emotional Rescue. and it has like the poster from like the 70s.
That's cool.
They're like old artists would do that all the time. They give you little fun things inside there, or like the sleeve would have like really cool like documentation of the process, and I kind of like that. Like it kind of brings the song to life. I'm big like into storytelling and understanding the music, so. Like one thing I actually want to do is after I release the album, I'm going to do like a deluxe version where I actually talk about the songs and the meanings behind them, and like why I make that song. Because me as a musician, I kind of like that. Like why is that song about what it is, or what's the meaning of these lyrics? For me, it kind of helps me as just a musician to understand. Like, is it important to actually write meaningful lyrics, or can you just write bullshit and get by with it? Which you can, but I'm not that type of person, unfortunately. So
no, fortunately.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm hoping July.
Okay.
That we're going to kick it out. But I have like the GoFundMe on my Facebook and Instagram right now for people if they want to pre-order the vinyl record. The sooner I hit the number I hit, the faster I could get it to pressing, because it's going to take like half a year for it to get done.
Oh.
So we'll see, I'm trying to just pretty much, it's at cost. Like I'm just trying to get people to pay for it, and I could give it out to them, So we'll see.
Is there some type of tour planned, or like how else besides social media do you plan to like share this music? Yeah,
it's funny because Kevin and Matt were like, we should probably play these at a few places and then do like an album drop party. I'm like, I didn't even think about that. Like, come on, Tom. What do you live under a rock? But yeah, no, definitely. I think once we release it, then I'll kind of pick a couple of places to do some pop-up shows and stuff like that, and I'll get all the guys involved and, have them jump on with me, and we'll do
like summertime, like tons, like you mentioned, Tinley Block Party. It's just like in the city, like neighborhood parties, block parties happening left and right.
Oh, yeah, man. The hard thing with getting in the city, and I've always been stubborn with it, is I don't want to use a booking agent. I've booked our gigs. I've always booked our gigs for my band effectively since I was 18 years old, and I've always found, why should I pay a middleman to talk to that bar?
Is it because they have connections?
Yeah, but like I could just jump over that guy and call that bar myself. Why would I need him? Why should I pay that guy an extra 20, or why should he get $100 out of our money when I could just make a phone call and schmooze the person myself? Fuck that. Like, I'm not paying somebody to do that.
But that's the only value they're providing.
Yeah, exactly. So part of the reason why I can't get in the city is because all these bars, a lot of them, and all these, festivals, like, like Randolph and all that, they go through like a booking agency.
Is there something about being legitimate to have a booking agent?
You know what? You're going to get consistent gigs, but you're still going to get jagged around on price. And again, like that's the thing that always bugged me. It's like, I could call up a park district, or I could call up a village hall and say, hey, who's the person that's booking, and I could just hound the person because I know how to do that. I could call them once a week, every week for a month until they pick up the phone, and I could send them the information, and I could get us a gig, and then I could negotiate effectively for our band for the pricing. Yeah. And instead of taking something off the top, I just split it evenly with my guys because they do a lot of work. Zach obviously sings most of the songs, and Zach fronts, and Matt, does a lot of the guitar solos and the heavy lifting there. And I'm like, I'm our supporter. Like I play the rhythm guitar and I play cajon and I sing a few songs too. But like, I feel like my contribution is to get us out there. I'm also the more business-minded person, So yeah. But yeah, that whole thing just always pissed me off, And a few of the booking agencies I've worked with, one way or another, they try to dick you around, and they'll try to throw the contract at you. But thank God my brother's an attorney and has taught me how to kind of find the gray areas in that, for legal binding documents, and throw it back at them, and then they don't want to work with you because you're not a sheep. So yeah.
Where's your ideal place to play?
I don't know, man. We play breweries a lot, which is fun because it's kind of like a family atmosphere at the end of the day. Like, people are drinking craft beer, kind of hanging out, and then you see kids running around. That's kind of fun. We're a pretty family-friendly band. I mean, we do like playing the festivals, which is fun. Everyone we do, we end up surprising people, which is cool. We step up on stage, we're an acoustic trio, 2 guitars and a cajon, and then we blast people with 3-part harmonies and effective guitar solos and like a backbeat. They're like, holy shit, what is that? Like, this sounds like almost like a full band. I love those type of situations, but Yeah, man, I just like playing in front of a good group of people. We've played some really shitty bars. We've played some really sketchy areas, and it's just about the outlook, though. It's like, as long as people are paying attention, that's all we care about, So we'll play some bars where we're there all the time, and we're just built-in background music. And for us, we just call it paid practice. We run our new songs because we don't get together as much as we used to, like practice-wise. Because we just learned how to learn songs and then just throw them into sets and just kind of fix them as we go through that way. Paid practice, as I say. So, like, at some of the bars that we play at frequently, we'll do that there. That we know that we're pretty low, where we could just kind of hop in and, like, work on a song and work out the kinks. And even though, maybe one or two people will hear and be like, oh, that was dog shit. And then the other people will be like, oh, that's great. What was that? But we're just laughing the whole The key is if you make a mistake, you smile and you laugh to the person to the next, right next to you. That's what I found, anyways.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's all I had, Tommy.
Yeah, right on, dude. No, this is great.
I mean, is there anything else you wanna? What's been? I feel like we made some headway.
I don't know, dude. This was cool. I'm so glad. I mean, I appreciate you coming here. This was.
Oh,
really
this is
cool.
great. Yeah, it's an honor.
Yeah, the setting is cool.
Like you. With the vinyl pressings and seeing the process, like I too am fascinated with how someone gets from point A to point B, and to be able to see the behind the scenes of how the magic happens. It's like most people just see the end product and not like everything in between.
Yeah, for sure.
So I appreciate it.
No, dude, hell yeah. You know what? Maybe we'll do if we want to get together again, we could go through the process of actually like a songwriting process, and like doing a song from beginning to end, and like how to record it and like kind of what goes into that. And could be a fun exercise is like, you could tell me a letter of the alphabet from A to G, and I will I'll write a song in one of those keys. Yeah.
Okay, I'm down.
Yeah. So we'll do that. Like, but give me like a week in advance so it does not complete dog shit. And then when you can make up a topic, we could like literally, because I enjoy those types of exercises.
So putting in constraints and like kind of like setting a deadline creates that pressure needed to be creative and like have something come out of it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm a bona fide procrastinator, man. I'm guilty as charged with that.
If you don't set a deadline, it's never going to happen, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and even sometimes you set the deadline and you don't make it. But, so, yeah, man. No, this was really cool, Vic. I appreciate it, man. This is awesome. Also, congratulations on the engagement. I don't think I officially told you that.
Oh, yeah, we're excited. We're excited on the planning process. We were just like, do we want a DJ? Do we want a live band? So, I'm hoping to keep stirring that conversation.
If you need us, we'll be there.
It would be an honor.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I also do the DJing thing too. Sometimes when we play weddings, I call myself DJ Spotify. I'll create a playlist and we just kind of blend through it. And then if people want to,
because some people want those like cliche classics.
Oh God,
right?
yeah. So like when we would do the receptions for the full band stuff, I would tell them we'll play a full hour. And we'll take a 30-minute break to do MP3 music.
Oh, right.
So people could kind of get that taste of that, and then we'll jump back in for our last hour of full band music, and then for the closing down and stuff, then we'll play another 30 minutes of it. Yeah, it's a good blend from what I found.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of like the routine I found. But I've also DJ'd weddings too, where it's just straight that, and it's also effective.
Yeah.
A lot less equipment to lug around too. So, where are you guys thinking about going?
Somewhere in the city. We're checking out our first place tomorrow, Bridgeport Arts Center.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah,
I've been there before.
So we're navigating that. I think we're looking at a guest list, and I think that'll dictate the food and the venue and all that stuff. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, a few friends that I've been talking to are like, well, they are taking the money that they would spend on a wedding on a down payment and just end up spending that money or having the reception at their house, at their newly bought house. Whereas like some people say like they only made half of what they spent on the wedding.
Oh, boy.
Marty shared that he made, if not most, if not all, maybe of his costs. So
we ended up making like,
like you
$7,000 or $8,000
can't expect,
more.
right? Oh, for real? Good for you guys.
Yeah.
So right,
but we also did like Nikki's Polish, and we got a big family, so we had just shy of 300 people there. I think it was like 295. It was
that overwhelming?
Dude, our wedding, man, it was a fucking blast. Like, we were 23 and 24 at the time. Wow. We were young. We had a party. I think we had over 30 people in our bridal party, or just shy of 30. Like, I had like 14 of my best buds, and then she had like all her people. But I had to, like, of course, include her cousins and her brother-in-law in my mix, so I couldn't have a couple people that I wanted in, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day. It's just the day, you know. The amount of time and effort you put into your wedding, it's kind of crazy because you think about it. It's just one day, and then you got the rest of your life after that. You know, it's like it's kind of like not as important as people think, but it's for the woman, you know. It's for your wife, you know, to have a beautiful, magical day. Anyways, yes, it was a little overwhelming, especially with us being younger. You know, again, like at that point, I was working at the bank, barely making any coin. We were literally having to save up everything. I remember paying $4,000 for flowers and then just putting a knife in my chest, like, fuck, this is hard. You know, like, because our parents, you know, they each, you know, gave us like X amount of dollars, and they said, but you guys got to pay for the rest. This is what we're offering up. And we said, okay, that will get us most of the, you know, halfway there, and we'll take care of the rest. But when it came time to it, man, everybody was very generous. You know, like I said, we ended up making money back on it, because at the end of the day, your wedding is, you know, it's a cash grab. You know, give everybody a good time and hope that you make a profit on it. You're throwing a big party.
I just can't have that expectation, you know.
You should. No, find people that are rich and invite them to your wedding, you know. No, but like for real, man, like it was a blast though. Like, you know, we had Polish traditional dancing there. We did some goofy Italian stuff. Then we had like a rager. Mike Scroben fell on his head.
Oh no.
We brought White Castles in halfway through. You know, it was a great time. It was a zoo, but no, man, you'll have a great time. The one thing I could recommend about your wedding, and I tell everybody about this, at some point in the evening, take a point to step back, like even sit at the head table with you and your wife once you guys are married, and just sit there and look at everybody in the room, because it's important to do that, because those people who are in the room are the people that are sharing that day with you because they love you. You know, it may not be at a big capacity, but it could be. But those people are there, willing to be there to celebrate that moment in your life, and that's like super important. So, you know, for us to have over 295 people that were willing to be in a room with us, that was super magical.
How many did you invite then?
About 315.
Oh, that's close.
Yeah.
Wow.
We were actually worried that it would get over 300 because the hall couldn't go over 300.
Gotcha.
But we figured, like, you know, not everybody's going to make it. But then most of them did. Were like, oh shit. You know, but yeah, no, that's like just if I could ever recommend just taking a step back and just kind of like watching everybody around you. But man, I remember standing at that altar. I was scared shitless though.
Well, same thing with proposing.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. Yeah. I almost dropped my ring in the water. Yeah, well, you're by the water too.
I was worried about that too.
Yeah.
It was a
windy day. Did you touch your
day.
pockets like 1,000 times?
No, I had it in my backpack. So it was a planned photo shoot.
Oh, cool.
And it was where I've done many photo shoots before, and I just had her like, you can stand there. I'm just going to take some practice shots. And I think at that point she knew what was going to happen.
Nice.
And I was just fidgeting with my bag, and we had a small window because there was a bunch of people walking back and forth, and I knew my photographer, you know, that small window, I needed to do it then and there. If looking back, I would have taken my time instead of taking the ring out, maybe taking a camera out, just like, I'm not proposing. It's just the camera.
It. Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, everything did go according to plan. So
that's awesome, man.
All I can ask for.
That's super cool.
So we're excited. Yeah.
Have you talked about this yet on your podcast yet?
Not to this extent. But it's out there.
Do you ever talk a lot on your podcast? I felt like I just talked the entire fucking time.
Right.
Yeah. I just felt like I just rambled.
Yeah, that's the point. You're the guy. Yeah.
I know, but like I like to hear what you have to say, you know.
Yeah. No, not really. This is how it usually goes.
Okay, gotcha.
I ask the questions to be so open-ended that whatever spills out, and then my job is to connect the dots from what I can pull out of you.
Sure.
That's all.
No, that's cool, man. Yeah, I'm excited for you guys. You know, I'm glad that you found happiness. I think that's important, you know, and just having that a partner in your life that you could trust and love is super important. You know, I've been with Nikki since I was about 19 years old, I want to say. And I'm 33 today. Oh, God.
Yeah, I know. I didn't even say happy birthday.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
On the pod.
Oh,
but,
yeah. Yeah. 33 today.
What a great day.
Yeah, dude, it's cool. Just took the day off to do this with you. I'm excited, man. Like, you're like, you really want to do this today? I'm like, hell yeah, dude. This is exciting. Like, I miss the Bub Boys podcast. I miss talking on them. I love hearing the sound of my own voice, and you've got such a soothing voice. Like, yeah, I would love you to read me a book at night. You know, like
I have honestly thought about that,
dude. I constantly think about doing voiceover stuff.
Yeah.
I got this stuff here to do it, and be like, a long time ago, in a land not so far away. is a White Castle's. You know, where shit flows constantly. You know, like I could the low baritone voice. Yeah.
Right.
But
right.
yeah, man. But you know, I'm lucky to have Nikki as long as I have, and you know, we took our time having kids because number one, we were extremely young at that point, didn't have a pot to piss in, but. You know, when we first got married, like our first year was actually pretty rough. She was working nights. I was working a shit job. And we literally just saw each other in passing. As she said, 2 boats in the night. 2 boats crossing in the night. But like, you know, it was great though, because like we, you know, in order to build, you know, I always say like in order to build a house, you got to have a foundation first, right? If you're building a family, you got to have that foundation first. So that starts with you and your partner. So if you got a rocky foundation, don't add a child to that because it's just going to fucking topple over. It's going to be even more stressful. Everybody's different. Some people just patch up their marital issues with children and compounds and makes it worse. But, you know, who am I to fucking judge? But like, you know, for us, it was like, let's take our time. Let's get through our, you know, 20s. And because, you know, 20s are meant to be that selfish period, you know? Whereas like, you know, we had our fun. My hangover started lasting about a day or two, so I was like, "Fuck this! I'm ready to have a kid and be a dad now. I'm done being selfish." You know, the hard thing is to think about too with having kids, is to understand that like once they come into life, it's not about you anymore. You know, it's about them and being responsible for them. And for me, I've used to be a very selfish person. I'm trying not to be anymore, but I find myself being from time to time. But I knew once my child would come that I knew that point in my life, that chapter in my life is gone. I knew that I couldn't be selfish anymore. So like I always kind of like pushed off as long as I could. But then I told myself like, why are you pushing that off? Like, you know, life's about growth. It's about, you know, learning and understanding and things like that. And, you know, when it finally happened, I was like, man, why didn't I do this sooner? You know, sometimes you just got to rip off the Band-Aid and not be afraid.
What led you to that level of self-awareness?
Dude, I you know...
Because there are a lot of dads that are still probably selfish.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you know, it drives me nuts when parents say that they're babysitting their own kid. It's like, you dumb fuck, you made that child. You're watching your child. You're not babysitting. So, you know, for me, dude, I do a lot of like self-reevaluation, like a lot of centering, a lot of like soul searching. You know, I've been doing therapy for a long time for my panic attacks. Yeah, like off and on for a few years. I stopped for a while, but from what I found through that though is being honest with yourself. And if you can't be honest with yourself and you can't be kind to yourself, how do you expect to be like that towards others? You know, all those components make you a better person and make you a more self-aware person. But I will tell you, there was a point where I was like in therapy and I was like understanding so much, and like all these thoughts and processes were like blowing through my brain that like I almost became like too afraid. I became very like afraid of understanding everything. Like it was scary at one point. Like I felt like my third eye opened up a little bit and I like saw like the world and like the universe for like what it is, and it scared
even
me.
More overwhelming.
Oh dude, yeah, because like I was just, and I that's actually when I stopped therapy for a little bit. I was like, I need to take a break. She goes, why? I'm like, I'm just like understanding too much about like the world around us, the way people act, and like what our core, you know, necessities are, and like just all these things kind of happened. And I was like, kind of got a little too scared about knowing too much.
So how do you look at it now? Do you look at it more as like a privilege to be able to see that much?
I do. And I also think that it's important to turn it on and off when you need to. You don't want to carry it with you all the time and think about existential dread and, you know, and things you can't control, because I would worry. That was the thing. It's like I start to worry about things that are out of my control. And that's sometimes panic attacks would happen from that, is, you know, being out of control of situations and not being able to help or something. But guess what? There's just things in life that we can't put our hands on.
So many.
Yeah.
Right? It's just like people
more
ask,
than you can.
It makes me think, like, so, like, when shit's like, is the war still going on in Ukraine? Like, or like Taiwan's worried about China, or, you know, my parents are from Burma, like shit's still going on in Burma. Like, shit is hitting the fan everywhere around the world. And like, if you let it, it can cripple you from letting you live your own daily life. Yeah. Here we are, like, but it is important to acknowledge the privilege, right? To be able to sit and have a podcast and stuff like that. But if you let it, it can definitely cripple you from living.
Dude, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember when the war in Ukraine first came out, it started happening, Nikki was like absolutely beat down about it because, she has, her father's Russian, but was born in Morocco. He's born in Africa. Or just, he went there at a very young age. Anyways, she was like completely beat up by it. And she was like, what, you aren't? And I'm like, Nikki, I that's completely out of my control. And I'm like, this may sound selfish for me to say. I'm like, unfortunately, I can't go there and help them. I can't make a difference with them. But what I can do is I can control my life and take care of you and our son and, continue putting food on our table and doing all that. Like, I can't let that weigh me down, unfortunately, because it will beat the shit out of me. Kind of what I'm like, I just, I'm very aware of the situation going on over there, but I can't let it cripple me because it's like, I have a problem letting things go already.
Wherever you look, whether it's like in the heart of the pandemic, right? It's just like, do you really not it's just like you can let things cripple you.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
And it's hard because there are other people that have this, I don't know if this is the right term, but like this hero complex to try to save the world. And they are triggered every time they see something is not fitting their perspective.
Yeah.
They're like, if they see someone doing something wrong, it's just like, you're not doing it wrong. And it's just like they feel compelled to fix what's wrong, even though it's like way out of their control.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I get that all the time. And it's also kind of like one of those self-reflecting things where you talk about like, what was I actually put here on earth to do? Like just another cog in the wheel, Right?
Like some part of fulfillment is derived from a sense of purpose. And if someone feels compelled that like my purpose here is to, let's say for example, one that comes to mind because I had a guest on that is from the bicycling community is like
I saw that,
the whole cycling versus
fellow had long hair, right?
Car. What?
He had long hair.
Oh yeah. Eric. Yeah. And I follow one of these other pages that is just like, it just feels like cancel culture. They just keep putting this one restaurant on blast because they have this car parked in a bike lane and stuff. Or like putting the USPS on blast because they wouldn't move. Like they actually had a standstill. Like a biker sat in front of the USPS truck because they wouldn't get out of the way. And it's just like, it's like two immovable objects kind of thing. And I know. I mean, it's probably frustrating for both sides.
Yeah.
And it's hard. I don't know. You can let it get to you.
I feel like with that situation, aren't there more important things in life to worry about between those two?
And maybe when bicycling is your world, it's like that is your life.
Man, I used to ride all throughout Chicago. I got doored once.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So I get it. Stay in your fucking lane, cars. Absolutely. But yeah, no, people need to be more aware of bicyclists. I totally agree with that, though. I used to ride everywhere.
Right, and then as more bike lanes are coming up, then less and less street parking is available, and it's just like you got to just maybe spend extra 15 minutes circling the block looking for parking. But I mean, what if you are an Uber Eats driver? What if you are just delivering mail and you just need to pull over it?
Yeah,
it's an impasse. I think I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either, man. So, but, I mean, gosh, I could keep talking with you about existential crisis. You used the word earlier about imposter syndrome, but I won't go back to that. But that is something.
As far as musician?
No, actually with my career. I feel that sometimes being in the position that I'm in.
Why is that?
Because I was brought up to a higher level, and I thought, like, am I supposed to be here? But yeah, I've been doing this for almost a decade. I know everything. Well, not everything, but you don't never know everything. But I know enough to be in this position. Why do I feel like I shouldn't be here? And that's one of those conversations I always have with myself.
It's humbling in a way.
Yeah. But it's also fucking menacing because it's like, I know I'm capable. I damn well know I'm capable. But I'm getting in the way of myself. And 9 times out of 10, us as humans, the only reason why we don't do things or excel at something is because of ourselves. We are our own worst enemies a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
So you know what? I'm going to end us with that song, Female Ejaculation.
Take us away.
So the one thing we talked about, we talked about this before the podcast, is when I first started writing music, I would only write like funny songs because, being like a clever individual, if I do say myself or say so myself, whatever the fucking words are, I found it easy to write funny songs. But then when I started actually trying to write poetry and write seriously, I constantly had writer's blocks because I would always want to talk about women coming on my face or, boners and farts and stuff like that. So try writing a love song about boners and farts. Anyways, this was the song that when I first started playing music. When I first started playing music, that like was a smash hit with all my high school friends and college friends. So. So me and this girl, you know, we were a 69 and you know, yeah, oh yeah, I must have been doing something right, because when we came, yeah, we didn't come a little, she came a lot. You could come on my face and on my mouth, come on my wallet and on my couch. Do it anytime at all. Girl, I lick that pussy till I break my jaw. Till I break my jaw. Girl, you squirt so much that your nickname should be Squirtle. And you know when no one's home, you masturbate with a turtle named Myrtle. And when you're coming all over him, and that shit drips right down his shin, and you look real fine, fine, like sparkling white wine. You could come on my face and on my mouth, come on my wallet and on my couch. Do it anytime at all. Girl, I lick that pussy till I break my jaw. Till I break my jaw.
That was awesome.
Bet you never had somebody on the podcast sing about female ejaculation before.
No, that's a first.
Oh Lord. Anyways, check out my album, Speak Your Mind. It's not about female ejaculation.
You are definitely. Is that? What would you title this episode?
Oh fuck.
You want to use the album?
Speak Your Mind.
Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Speak Your Mind's the name of the new album. So it does not have the female ejaculation song on it. Although it may be a bonus track on the inner part of the vinyl. Could you imagine that you peel the vinyl back and then it would be right there?
The deluxe version.
Yeah, the deluxe version. No, yeah. So the name of the new album is called Speak Your Mind, and yeah, I think that'd be a cool title for you.
All right, we're down.
Sure,
we'll do it. All right, guys. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye. Oh, I can add in that one. All right, bye.